If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
Whenever a national tragedy or a national story happens, typically we see the opinions of everybody, especially in today's day and age with social media being so prevalent and everybody having access to have their own voice be heard from anywhere, anytime, at any place of this world. And it's no different for athletes. So, of course, with the school tragedy that happened with the school shooting, another mass shooting in this country, one of the biggest problems, maybe one of the biggest epidemics we have in this world, especially on our side of the world here in the United States. And, you guys all know my opinion about this. And at this point, it feels like it's just talking to deaf ears. There's always somebody with a rebuttal, but it's always the same rebuttal, even when you're bringing new information. So just like this, LeBron James gave his opinion. And like everybody else in the sports world, like everybody else in this country who has an opinion and a thought about gun control and mental illness and what we can do for these political issues. And a conservative news reporter went ahead and basically told LeBron that he's not smart enough and he is not, basically to stay in your lane. And what I really want to talk about is that whole idea of staying in your lane. I have friends who are police officers, for example, and some of them tell you, you have no right to talk about the position because you're not out there and you're not doing it. It's a fair point when it comes to not knowing exactly what the mentality is. But if that's the aspect, then really none of us can have an opinion on anything. How many of you can have an opinion on a TV show? For example, for that being an example, if you don't like Game of Thrones, why don't you like Game of Thrones? Because you don't like the writing? Well, write something. Why don't you write a TV show? If you don't like the way LeBron James is playing basketball, why don't you go out there and go play basketball? If you don't like the way the NBA is being played nowadays, why is it then that it's okay for us, for the normal person, to go ahead and have their opinion heard? We're all citizens. Last time I checked, I'm a United States citizen. So is LeBron James, so are you. So right away, we all have the right to kind of, have an opinion about what goes on in our country. Nothing qualifies somebody to have more of an opinion. When it becomes something is when decisions are made. When you have to put expertise into it. So yeah, I don't want the average Joe Schmo going ahead and going to a trial and talking about forensic science when they have no idea what they're talking about. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have an opinion on what kind of forensic science we should be using, perhaps, or the methodology of using it, or when is it appropriate, what cases, so on and so forth. But if you don't know the subject, then in your mind, since for the people who say stay in your lane, to these athletes who you get paid millions of dollars, don't talk about social issues. How dare you? Well, how dare you tell somebody that? Nothing makes you more of a citizen than anybody else. Being a police officer, a doctor, a garbage man, a lawyer, a soldier, whatever it is. We have respect, of course. We show respect. We show admiration, or we're supposed to, for these different positions because we understand the difficulty of it. But we also have to acknowledge that nothing makes you more right or wrong to give an opinion, especially if you're not hurting anybody. And especially in today's day and age when it's such a confusing time and it's such an emotional time and people are so invested in everything that's being said and done because we see it every single day. And I guess my biggest issue in this is the confrontation. And I don't know if it's a left or a right thing. I don't know if it even is that. But the fact that whenever somebody can post something or has an opinion, they're attacked. Why can't we find a way to move forward? And not move forward as in forgetting, but move forward to make things right. Because the fact is, people are correct. Whatever the situation is, it's never all going to be perfect. But we should be able to discuss it and try to move forward with it and make it better for each and every one of us. And if somebody's scared or if somebody has a concern, we should be able to listen to them, no matter how much money they make. And unfortunately, money does play a factor of how much voice you have and how much clout you have. I think people are so miserable sometimes in their own life or so frustrated in their own life that they take it out on people who have done more, who have succeeded more, who have a platform. So no, I don't believe that stay in your lane should happen. If that was the case, how can anything get done? If you're a sports fan, don't talk about sports then, unless you've played. And I'm not talking about your high school rec league. Unless you played in the big leagues. Unless you played in the NFL, the NBA. Don't talk then if you're a stay-in-your-lane guy when it comes to politics. Don't watch movies unless you've directed one or acted in one. Don't defend or go against law enforcement unless you've actually had a badge. Or pro-anti-wars, unless you've actually served. See how stupid that sounds? Same thing when you tell a ball player or anybody else that they couldn't have an opinion, especially something in our own country.
Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333.
We are right in the middle of the Winter Olympics. And, I'm not going to be here and sit here and rain on anybody's parade. I actually think it's kind of lame when people tell you that you shouldn't enjoy things or you shouldn't watch things for certain reasons, or at least for reasons that I don't. And this is just a simple reason why I don't enjoy, especially the Winter Olympics. And it has more, as much as it has to do with the fact that I don't play any of these sports. I've never gone skiing. I've never gone snowboarding. I've never done ice skating, figure skating. Obviously I played a little hockey, but nothing huge. And I like the Blackhawks and follow the NHL just a little bit. But that idea of, I don't connect to these sports opposed to, let's say, the summer games where, you have the track and field, and you have swimming, and you have basketball, and there's all these different sports that, a lot of us have actually competed in and actually played. But it's beyond that. It's almost the same thing with college sports, or especially the World Cup. It's all the garbage that goes behind it. And, I don't want to get here in a soapbox and tell you all the evil that is the Olympics. But, before I dig into exactly why I don't enjoy it, the things I do enjoy are the fact that it's some of the best character development you'll see on television. They tell you stories of these athletes working for these moments that none of us care about any other time other than every 4 years. And going for these moments where there's not a lot of money into it. And especially in these winter games, you pay a lot of money to play in these sports recreationally. You pay a lot of money for this equipment. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort for the family. So to see it pay off for some of these kids, especially some of these kids, you're seeing them 15, 16, 17 years old. It's awesome. It's what sports are all about. But at the same token, the corruption that is the IOC, and it is just the Olympics in general. I mean, the fact that you see Russia having all these doping allegations and these athletes can't represent their country because their country has had the most sophisticated doping organization ever seen to man. And that's what we know of, right? And then you see what's going on with the World Cup and the hundreds of people who die from Qatar. And the fact that they build these stadiums, these $1 million stadiums, for these one specific games and never do anything with them. That's why it was such a big controversy especially when it happens here in the United States, that money that gets put into making the city fit for the Olympics and meeting these requirements, which are unbelievable. And for that not to go into the infrastructure of your city to begin with. And especially these other countries where we know they're not taking care of their citizens. For example, what's happening in Qatar and with FIFA and the World Cup. But it is some of the most, enthralling television you'll have all year. I mean, for God's sake, I was watching curling. And I don't know the rules. I just know it was exciting, or bobsledding. I don't know the rules. I just know if the Jamaican team isn't in it, I have to root for the United States. But I don't blame people for loving the Olympics. There is a majesty. There is this aura that is in these games. But I think as the years have gone on, as social media has gone on, as just viewing habits have gone on, and then we've seen behind the curtain, so to speak, of what is the Olympics and the shadiness, that there is something lost to it. And then, this Larry Nassar stuff that we saw with the girls' gymnastics team, again, during the Summer Olympics, but just the taste that is all this is so bad. But I want to know, are you guys enjoying the Olympics? Are you guys watching it? How about the time change? The fact that we don't get to watch a lot of it live, or the fact that a lot of it is pre-taped, or we find out the decisions way in advance and we don't get the surprise of watching this crazy comeback or the underdog win or the favorite dominate. Very interested to hear your thoughts on the Winter Olympics this year.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Mercado Airwaves is brought to you by supporters at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves.
So before I let you go, I just wanted to, again, it's been a very tough week, guys, and we really appreciate you helping us out here whenever you can, and we really appreciate you guys allowing us to be a distraction as all this horrible news has gone on. And so before we let you go, we would also like to give our condolences and our gratitude to not only the brave men and women who serve the community as police officers, but to Commander Paul Bauer, who, a 31-year veteran of police force, was shot down earlier this week in Chicago. A senseless murder, and just like everything else in this world, it's senseless, it's sad, it's a tragedy. And whether it's the police officer, the soldier, the innocent mom and dad walking on the street, the child, conservative, liberal, Catholic, Christian, Hindu, Islamic, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of tragedy, a lot of stuff for us to deal with the last few days, and what just seems to be a real tough time for a lot of us in this country and around the world. I don't want to sound so self-centered to say that the United States is the only part of the world, so like just everything. But let's go ahead and let World Series champion Anthony Rizzo, Chicago Cub, give his emotional, thought-out, compassionate thoughts over at Parkland, Florida, where he was a high school student. Thank you so much for listening to us here on Saturday Sports Stuff on Mercado Airwaves. Here's Anthony Rizzo. Take care of each other.
We're talking to the students and how they're taking care of each other and how they're coming together. And I'm so grateful to the teachers, the coaches, the administration, and all the first responders who tried to protect them. I am only who I am because of this community. And I just want all of you to know how proud I am to be part of this community. I want you to know that you're not alone in your grief. We're all grieving with you. The entire country is grieving with you. So whatever comfort I can give, I will give. Whatever support I can offer to our students, teachers, coaches and families and first responders, you'll have it. I went to Stoneman Douglas. I grew up in Stoneman Douglas. I played on those fields. I went to those classes. I studied in those classrooms. The same school we saw in videos yesterday for all of the wrong reasons. We see this on TV too often. I feel like it's all the time. It is. There's a cycle to it. We get horrified that this violence is inflicted in our kids. We get angry that there's nothing we can do and nothing's done about it. And then we ultimately get immune and move on to something else. But then it happens in our own town, in your own school, or the movie theater, or a nightclub, or a church. And we realize it could happen to us in our safe and tight-knit community, Parkland. In fact, there are a lot of communities out there that know exactly what we're going through right now and have to relive these moments again and again. Look, I'm a baseball player, but I'm also an American. I'm a Floridian, and I'm a Parklander for life. And while I don't have all the answers, I know that something has to change before this is visited on another community and another community and another community.